quick updates on the EIDL Grant rules and progress, a quick look at the economy, including the latest on the Gamestop saga and Robinhood, a vaccine progress update and the lowering case counts, and some new reports on the massive PPP fraud. More people are getting arrested, more people are pleading guilty to the fraud schemes. I'm going to briefly talk about that. Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. It's Thursday, January 28th. I hope you're doing well, staying healthy. Lots to cover today across the stimulus, EIDL, PPP spectrum, and some of the other important COVID-related news. As always, thanks for tuning in and subscribing. We are passing 50,000 subscribers today. Whether you've been watching us for the last year or you're new, we're so grateful for every subscriber, and we'll continue to cover important news for you on a daily basis and provide as much value as we can. Let me start with the juicy PPP Loan Fraud scheme news. Santa Clarita man pleads guilty to massive PPP loan fraud scheme. This happened earlier this week. The man pleaded guilty to more than $1 million in fraudulent loans through the PPP. According to the plea agreement, the forms he submitted contained false statements about both the number of employees and the amount of payroll expenses he had. Magnus said he employed 40 people, but IRS and EDD records showed the company never reported paying any employees. He now faces up to 30 years in federal prison. Sentencing is scheduled for May. The reason I point this out is because we are hearing more and more of these stories from the first round, and of course, the second round, I imagine there'll be some degree of this as well. Of course, you can go to trackpploan.com to apply if you haven't, and you can track self-reported status on our app as well. Our app is in the App Store at Hello Skip. While we're here, 10% of you have reported receiving your second stimulus check of $600. We have our brand new EIDL Grant tracker up, which will tell you specifically how much you can expect to get from the SBA based on their eligibility rules that they clarified last week. I'm going to talk about that because Fast Company is talking about the new rules and the new SBA rules as well, and they provide some commentary, so I'll show that in a second. But here's the latest version. It should be live for everyone now, both on the App Store and Google Play. Just search Hello Skip or track EIDLgrant.com. And a little bit more vaccine progress. Almost 20 million of you have received a shot. And you can see where you are in the line. Of course, the rollout is still pretty messy, but President Biden is securing hundreds of millions of more doses that will then be distributed. So hopefully that ramps up quickly and improves the pace of vaccines, because there's worry about the new variants if we don't vaccinate enough people before the new variants from the UK, which is already here, but from South Africa and Brazil, we have a few cases here. And there's also a California variant as well. Anyway, if those take hold in the US, there's fear that those will outpace the vaccinations and the case count will increase again. You know, we're all hoping for some normalcy this summer, but of course that will all be dependent on cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Well, before I talk about Fast Company's take on the EIDL grants, Inc. covered what we covered a few days ago. They caught up with the news, but I mentioned that the PPP software was having issues by rejecting second draw PPP borrowers who hadn't had their first loan forgiven yet. This was a bug in the system. Basically, they put a check in place, but in actuality, you don't need to have your PPP loan forgiven to apply for a second loan. So I talked about that news, and part of this was because of the SBA's new automated approval system. It was too automated for its own good, and you couldn't really override it. They're working on that fix, as we know. Again, most of the people that we are helping with PPP loans are still waiting. They're still waiting. I expect many more of you will receive approvals this week and next week, so stay tuned for there. Here is Fast Company's take on the EIDL grants and the rules that came out. Again, we've talked about this every day practically, and the SBA said it was prioritized qualifying businesses in those neighborhoods that applied for it but did not receive the full grant last time, or those that applied for it but did not receive anything. And of course, it emphasizes that crucially, the SBA says it will contact applicants directly. We've said this, we say this on the app. No action needed on your part. The SBA will contact you. Until we know more, until Guzman gets confirmed, these are the rules, so this is what we're going by. And I'll end on the good news because many of you have used our app and you found out that based on our data that we pull in from the census, you aren't technically in a low-income community, or across the street is a low-income community, but your address doesn't fall within the realm. Well, the good news is that the deadline to apply for the EIDL has been extended through December 31st of this year. So even if you don't get the advance, you can still apply for a loan. The loans are up to $150K. Many of you have reported receiving the loans but never the advance. Anyway, there's more time. I expect there will be changes to the loan rules as well. For example, what if you pay back a certain part of your loan already? Can you re-up? Can you increase your amount? There are processes in place to do that. But everything we've heard is that the EIDL is very slow on those, and many people are still waiting one way or the other to see if they can actually get more from the loan. That's the PPP EIDL grant news. On the economy, here's the GDP graph. Look, of course, we know we dropped substantially Q2 last year. It went up to Q3. Q4, it went up a little, but it's still not back to pre-pandemic levels. And the Labor Department today again showed a massive number of people who've applied for unemployment benefits. Almost 900,000 last week applied for unemployment benefits, and additional nearly 500,000 applied for the PUA. That's a lot of people. I mean, we've seen basically over 1 million people every week since last March. So a full year, 1 million people applying for benefits. I mean, there's still massive unemployment. But the silver lining here is that the stimulus packages have helped, and the talk of a third major stimulus package is good news. And of course, Biden, Democrats, and many Republicans are pushing for this. We expect this to go before Congress next week. Here's a quote from Stephanie Aronson, an economist at the Brookings Institute. The fiscal stimulus package was not perfect, but the truth is both Congress and the Fed acted very, very quickly, and I think that did save the economy from a much worse outcome. Economists have said this all the time as well. Of course there's inflation risks when you pump trillions of dollars into the economy, but the fact of the matter is this has saved a big part of the economy from cratering and having a much worse outcome and a much worse situation. And the flip side is, of course, the stock market has been growing fast and setting records over the last several months. Gamestop, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but of course Gamestop shares have shot up because of Reddit thread, because of people fighting against the professional investors betting against GameStop. Anyway, many investing platforms stopped allowing trades for GameStop from amateur investors, including Robinhood today. That was a big deal because by some accounts, over half of all Robinhood users had invested in GameStop. Robinhood today said, no, this is way too volatile, so we're going to halt trading. But this just came out after an outcry, which included members of Congress. Why is Robinhood stopping the trades when professional investors can still trade? Robinhood said it will allow users to start trading again tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, we plan to allow limited buys of these securities. Robinhood said, we'll continue to monitor the situation and may make adjustments as needed. That's important to note. Finally, cases are still going down, minus 34% over the last 14 days. That's good news. Deaths are also down a little bit, and so are hospitalizations. We hope to see this trend continuing. As I mentioned at the top, the biggest concern is the new variants. Will the new variants take over before we can get vaccinated? That, of course, is why the federal government, behind the new administration, is pushing for more doses, getting them out to more states quicker, so states can plan, can get people lined up, get people into the facilities and start vaccinating them. And the other news on undercounted virus deaths in nursing homes in New York. This just came out. The New York State Attorney General said it's likely that the Cuomo administration failed to report thousands of COVID-19 deaths of nursing home residents. This was an investigation done by the New York State Attorney General, saying that the administration may have undercounted deaths by as much as 50%. That's massive. This is particularly important to me because my dad passed away in a nursing home in New York earlier this year. Not from COVID, but there were many other people in the nursing home that had contracted COVID. And New York did a good job locking down nursing homes to prevent further spread and prevent further deaths. But we do know this was a major problem, and I saw this firsthand, how big of a problem it was. And look, deaths in nursing homes and other long-term care facilities have accounted for about 1/3 of the nation's total 430,000 deaths. That's massive, 1/3 of the nation's deaths in nursing homes. And again, that's assuming we have the correct numbers. Again, it's a long report by New York's Attorney General, but again, we hope that all these mistakes when it comes to counting cases and vaccinating are solved. We've been in this for almost a year now. It'll be a year next month that I've been doing daily emails related to COVID. This first came on my radar middle of February last year. I said, hey, this is going to hit the US, or a couple cases were here. Let's start reporting on it. And the rest is history, covering the stimulus and relief packages and trying to communicate helpful information to all of you. So as always, I so appreciate your support and subscribing to our channel. We are going to continue to cover news every day for you so you don't miss out and so you can stay up to date. Stay well, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow.